Hey, welcome back. Today I want to talk a little bit about the dichotomy that seems to exist between what we know is true in the Word and what we perceive with our flesh, particularly in the area of healing, prayer and healing. We know that the Word says, by Jesus' stripes we were healed, and Peter talks about this. We were healed. It's done. It is for sure. It is for certain. Done and finished. However, what you perceive with your eyes and your senses sometimes tells a different story, and people get confused. You know, they think, oh, it didn't work. Recently, some friends of mine, Brooke Potter and Pete Cabrera, came out to California to minister, and I went down to see him at a church called House of Rest in Modesto, which is pastored by David and Diana Lise Roca. Thank you very much for your hospitality, by the way. And so Brooke was ministering the word, and he said something. He said, you know, we are healed. What we are fighting for is not for the healing, but for the illusion of sickness to be removed. And immediately the Lord confirmed that to my spirit. I was just like, wow, that is amazing. In fact, he spoke to me the word glamour. And you know, most people, when they hear the word glamour, they think immediately of Hollywood, some movie starlet, or you know, a movie premiere red carpet walk, you know, with all the photographers, and that's glamorous. But really, the truth is that's the modern kind of definition. It's kind of what we have applied to it. But the word really means a magic enchantment, bewitchment, a spell, hex, or a jinx. And in truth, that's kind of really what Hollywood is we've created the illusion of beauty on the movies, or the illusion of love and whatever the story involves. We've got kind of created the illusion. And so what the Lord was telling me was that that's what the enemy can do, is they create the illusion of sickness and disease. If back to the movies, if you're familiar with any kind of vampire lore or watch any vampire movies, oftentimes the vampire kind of puts out this look on his victims, and they kind of like suddenly fall in love with them or act like, you know, they're just like, oh yeah. Well, what that is a glamour. The vampire's using a glamour and kind of entrances the victim. And so that's what the Lord was speaking to me, is that the enemy does this, and he can create symptoms or pains or things. And if you will agree with it and you start to confess it, oh, I've got this or I've got that, contrary to the word, you're empowering that illusion. And the more you confess it, you'll speak it into existence using negative faith, really. You know, that's what fear is faith for things that you don't want to happen. And so that's kind of where the enemy gets you, is he creates an illusion, you buy into it, you begin to confess it, and you can literally speak it into existence. So back to the difference of when you pray, when you command sickness or pain to leave, a lot of people will go, I didn't see anything, it didn't happen. It did happen. Something is happening. It just sometimes takes time. And as I was thinking about this, the Lord kind of used a computer as an example. Oftentimes when you begin a download of something, or you start a process on the computer, it'll oftentimes take time. And so the helpful thing with the computer is you'll get a little status window, or you'll get the little spinning beach ball if you've got a Mac, or the little world symbol turns if you've a PC guy. But then you know, hey, the computer's thinking, it's processing, it's doing something. You know, with the status window, you actually go, oh, okay, it's going to take me, you know, a couple minutes here. And you're patient. You understand something's happening. And the same thing goes on in the spiritual world, except we don't have the benefit of the little status window. That's really why we've got to stand in faith, knowing that something is happening. In fact, even with a computer, oftentimes people will begin a process or something, they punch a key and they expect something to happen, and it doesn't happen right away, and then they punch another key. And then they're punching keys all over the computer, and the thing locks up because they think something didn't happen. In fact, it was happening, and they just launched several different processes. Now the computer's overwhelmed, and it locks up, and then they get frustrated, and they get the blue screen of death. You know, and the same thing can happen in the spiritual world. People will pray for something, things are happening, but they don't perceive it. they're not standing in faith. So what do? They begin to panic, and they call the prayer chain, and they call the pastor, and they call friends, and they start confessing, well, I prayed and it didn't happen, blah, 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 blah. Now they've got several processes going, and many of them are unnecessary. They prayed a prayer of faith, things are happening. So when you pray a prayer of faith, believe, stand on the Word of God. Healing is done. Things are happening. Just because you don't have a status window telling you how long it's going to take, things are happening. Stand in faith. Sometimes you'll notice when you pray for people, sometimes things happen immediately, sometimes within minutes. Back to the analogy of the computer, the same thing's at play. Sometimes, say you're downloading a song, okay, over the internet, MP3. We hit it, sometimes, bam, within seconds, that download is complete. Sometimes it takes an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. Why the disparity? Why so much time? Well, it depends on a lot of factors. What your broadband is, how much computing capacity you have, how much memory you're functioning with on your computer. These things all play a role in how fast that song is going to be able to be downloaded. But even if you're 256 megs of memory and you've got dial-up, you're still downloading a song. It's just going to take a while. Things are happening. It's still going on. And some people in the spiritual world are working with a little more broadband, a little more computing capacity, and things happen a little quicker for them. Sometimes people have been prayed for, you're the 110th person to pray for that. All they need is just that little more push. That, in the computing world, you're just missing one more little file to complete the whole song. And you come along and boom, it happens. So there's variables. But don't ever think that just because you don't perceive something, things aren't happening. If you're praying in faith, things are happening. I hope this helps. It was a great revelation to me and a helpful illustration of what's kind of going on behind the scenes when you pray. So be at peace.